Punk rock evolved from the authentic angst of the 1980s Southern California hardcore scene to bratty skate punk, idealistic peace punk, and even mainstream pop punk in the 1990s. A few outstanding punk rock bands have played through the evolution to emerge as dominant forces. NOFX was considered royalty in the underground punk rock scene with a career that spanned over 15 years. The band rotated members many times, toured relentlessly, and developed their sound in continual efforts of improve, all the while releasing albums and EPs through independent record companies and avoiding MTV, commercial radio, and interviews. Following their Bad Religion influence of straightforward warp-speed rhythms, high-volume sonic attacks and buzzing harmonies in their early years, provided a basis for growth into ska and reggae sounds from groups such as Operation Ivy, Misfits, and Bad Brains. Mixing the political cynicism of Bad Religion, dark, sarcastic observations of their time and place, and abundant tongue-in-cheek humor made NOFX's music appeal to a wide range within the punk audience. The group's later albums contain lyrics which would entertain most any teenage boy and others who enjoy Southern California punk. Often offensive, their song lyrics exhibited a pissed-off attitude of social injustice, always contained plenty of sexual innuendo, and usually celebrated some sort of juvenile behavior. NOFX was formed in Los Angeles in 1983 by a few friends who attended Fairfax High School. Punk was a raging scene during the 1980s in Southern California, so there was ample interest in pulling together a band. Vocalist and bassist Fat Mike played in a group called False Alarm and was a huge Misfits fan. Drummer Smelly knew Fat Mike from skateboarding and was invited to join him, and guitarist and vocalist Eric Melvin. A fourth person did not show, so the band started as a three-piece unit. Those three members started with the group and were in the band for their last release in 1999. E.L. Heath on guitar, trumpet and vocals joined about midway into NOFX's career. During the time that the group started playing together, three of the members were into the straight-edge punk movement. However, Fat Mike was not attracted to that style, and the group claimed they were never a straight-edge band. They wanted to differentiate themselves from excessive use of gimmicks employed by many bands of the mid to late 1980s, and thus called their group NOFX. The group wanted to avoid facades and maintain an open, accessible style of music. The group's live performances began in Hollywood, California, where Minor Threat, Black Flag, and Social Distortion had played. A club called Café de Grande hosted NOFX's first gig of 4 songs with another band's equipment. The trio believed that touring would make their name and music familiar to people and generate a following which would allow them to grow as a band. A demo tape was recorded with the guidance of Dan Bowles of the Germs and was made available to fans if they mailed a self-addressed stamped envelope with a cassette. Songs were recorded on the tape and sent back to the interested fan. NOFX's first tour was in 1985 and covered cities in the Pacific Northwest. A band member's parent made the family station wagon available, and the group played in Reno, Nevada, Boise, Idaho, Portland, Oregon, and Ashland, Oregon. Friends made at the shows usually provided a place to crash for the night, while food and gas were stretched as thin as possible. Boise's gig was a house party and payoff was promised to be $200. Not surprising to the band, the promoter only gave them the $50 he had collected and apologized for not having the remainder of the money because he was broke. Several changes in the lineup occurred over the following year. Smelly left for Santa Barbara, California, and 2 different drummers filled in the rhythm section. Dave Allen joined as vocalist, and the band headed out on another tour during the winter of 1985 to the Southwest United States. Fat Mike moved to San Francisco, California, to attend San Francisco State University after the Southwest tour. Unfortunately, Allen, the recently added vocalist, died in an automobile accident. Smelly was convinced to join the band again, and Melvin moved to Santa Barbara to attend City College. Dave Casillas of Rat Pack joined as a second guitar player and participated in 2 United States tours and a European tour, despite a head injury due to a diving accident. He played on NOFX's first 3 releases. NOFX released their first EP, the PMRC Can Suck on This, in 1987 on Fat Record's Fat Mike's recording label. It was an outcry against the 1980s conservative ideals. In 1988, an LP, Liberal Animation, was released on Fat Records, with production credits to Brett Gorwitz of Bad Religion and Epitaph Records. The album included straightforward punk with some reggae mixed into the grooves. Liberal Animation was reissued on Epitaph in 1991. The withdrawal of the Adolescents from a European tour created an opportunity for NOFX to expand their listening audience. A German booking agent had organized a tour for a German band called the Drowning Roses along with an American group. A van, equipment and gigs were ready, and NOFX, who replaced the Adolescents, played overseas. Shortly after returning, Casillas was replaced by another guitar player. S&M Airlines was released in 1989 on Epitaph as their debut album. NOFX kept the pace speedy and added more guitar solos along with a ska groove while poking fun at American society. A tour of Canada and the United States was initiated before the S&M Airlines release, then another 6 weeks was spent in Europe promoting the album. NOFX adjusted their sound for their 1991 Epitaph release. Ribbed, Epitaph invested heavily in NOFX, spending much time honing the vocals. Vocal harmonies reminiscent of Bad Religion found their way into the album, which had cover art featuring a picture of a condom. In addition, NOFX released their first ballad on the Innuendo-laden project. A song was even written about society's false portrayals and facades throughout Southern California titled New Boobs. The group had achieved big-time punk status by this time and ventured once again to Europe along with The Leaving Train, Bad Religion, and Mudhoney. After the tour, an audition was held for a new guitar player because the previous guitarist departed for fear of falling into addictive drug use. Aaron Abeta was so impressive on the guitar and trumpet that he was chosen as the new addition and given the name E.I. Heath, as he was the most skilled musician of the bunch. E.I. Heath's musicianship was the largest influence on 1992's Fat Records release The Longest Line. His driving guitar and skillful trumpet added a new dimension to NOFX's sound. The band continued to use a humorous approach to cover issues such as racism, as well as American middle-class plight with a reggae vocal twist. Epitaph released another tongue-in-cheek titled album in 1992 called White Trash, 2 Heaves and a Bean. The album was softer than previous releases with more pop melodies, but still full of attitude and humor, even including a track poking fun at a lesbian relationship. Yet another testament to NOFX's disgust with commercial radio. Please Play This Song on the Radio began as a catchy melodic tune only to disintegrate into a stream of obscenities. Punk and Drublic, released in 1994, included pop-punk melodies similar to those found in Green Day and Offspring material. Otherwise, it was much the same as previous work, humorous and fast. A live project was issued in 1995 titled I Heard They Suck Live, which was recorded at a Hollywood club and contained straightforward live versions from earlier albums. Sexual Innuendo reached its climax with the release of 1990's Excess Heavy Petting Zoo, which portrayed a suggestive scene with a male and a sheep on the album cover and was promoted with blow-up sheep dolls for record stores. In short, NOFX released The Warts and All Autobiography, The Hepatitis Bathtub and Other Stories in 2016, while also announcing the release of their 13th studio album First Ditch Effort. Arriving in October, the record was preceded by the harder-edged single 6 Years on Dope, which documented Fat Mike's troubles with substance abuse and his subsequent cleanup. In 2018, after courting controversy for comments made about the 2017 Las Vegas mass shooting, NOFX were pulled from festival slots and they cancelled their US tour. Their third live album, Rib Live in a Dive, arrived that August. In March 2020, while in quarantine during the COVID-19 pandemic, the group began sharing a series of songs from a forthcoming album they planned on releasing in the fall. That September, NOFX revealed their plans to call it quits in 2023 around the time of their 40th anniversary. A year later, they released the track Darby, crashing a revamped version of a song initially included on the band's 7-inch of the Month Club series, which served as the lead single off their 2022 full-length double album.